What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Zeke Kransdorf.
And we hope you guys are having a great afternoon today, great evening. We have got an amazing show in store for you. Now, if you guys just heard, I mentioned on my last show, I'm back on Bryant's campus again for another 2 years. I'm doing my grad school here. So last show I had Ethan Mulder on. He was a familiar guest. And today I have the privilege of welcoming back yet another guest to the show who has made many appearances before, Mr. Zeke Kransdorf, the voice of the Bryant Bulldogs. Zeke, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back. I always love being guest on Down to the Wire. I always love taking it down to the wire. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Zeke. Glad to have you back today. We're going to discuss a lot of storylines going on in the NFL, mostly with the Patriots, and then discuss some MLB news as well. There's going to be some college football talk I know mixed in as well there. Zeke's going to lead that, but to start off, we're going to break things down in the NFL where a lot of people on the Patriots, Patriots fans were shocked yesterday when they found out the news that backup quarterback Bailey Zappe and Malik Cunningham were both cut by the Patriots on the certified cut down day. Teams needed to get down to 53 men on the rosters before 4:00. And it was decided that backup quarterback Bailey Zappe and quarterback/wide receiver Malik Cunningham were going to be on one of those names sent out of town. Now, they have since been brought back on the practice squads, but they at one point were exposed to the rest of the league, and they could have been picked up on waivers by any team. Now, Zeke, this is obviously a pretty crazy move based on the fact that just a couple of months ago, Bailey Zappe was arguably battling Mac Jones for his job for his job as the starting QB, and now he's on the practice squad, and Mac Jones is the only quarterback on the current 53-man roster. What are your thoughts on all this?
Honestly, what that move really speaks to me about is it's a move by the front office to sort of say, this is our guy. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt in anyone's mind now they're going with Mac Jones. If you're the only quarterback on the roster, you have the whole...
there's no one who can compete for your job.
Exactly.
It's not like Julian Edelman or Jacoby Myers who had that previous experiences back there to help you. Like, it's you, man.
There is no doubt in Mac Jones's mind. He is the guy right now.
Yeah.
And that the way that I see it is it's a confidence move.
100%.
It's showing that the Patriots have confidence in Mac Jones, that he's gelling with Bill O'Brien's offense, that everything is going to be running smoothly.
Yeah, which I tend to agree with as well. And based on if you had been watching, the preseason games and seeing the things in camp, Mac Jones easily had the advantage over Zappe. He seemed to, understand the offense well. And there were moments where Zappe just was not, was just completely falling apart as the leader of that team. There's now the infamous viral clip of O'Brien chewing out Zappe on the sidelines. I was hearing some guys on Boston Sports Talk discuss that today. So there seems to be some issues there. Do you think O'Brien had some sort of a play in this decision?
It's possible. I'm not going to rule it out of the realm of possibility, but if you just looked at, if you're watching the preseason games, you got a chance not to see Mac Jones nearly as much, but we got to see a very, hefty amount of Bailey Zappe.
Yeah.
And he didn't really do that much to really show as much promise as he did last season.
Mm-hmm.
When they had this super simplified offense for him, yes, he excelled, but, you can't exist off a super simplified rookie offense for very long in the National Football League and expect to keep on winning. So,
100%.
If you look at it through that lens and show, what have you done for me recently? That's what the NFL is. So what have you done for me recently kind of league. Bailey Zappe all preseason long was really struggling and the offense looked kind of anemic in those preseason games.
Yeah. And listen, I guess that when you see a guy play as significant amount of time as Zappe did in that final preseason game, that's usually the game where a lot of guys are fighting for their jobs, and many of them aren't going to have some come the end of that fourth quarter. So it might have been a sign seeing him out there, but just to have no quarterbacks on this roster. I know that, when Zappe was initially cut and there were, talks that maybe some other teams would be in on him. The Patriots were linked to like a Colt McCoy who had just been cut from the Cardinals. So, or maybe getting Brian Hoyer back in the building. So to get that veteran presence back, but you expose this guy to the rest of the league. They essentially didn't want him for, enough to really put him on that roster spot. So they exposed him to the rest of the league, and luckily they got him back. But Yeah, it's just crazy how quickly that thing can change.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of the fans were sort of divided. They wanted Bailey Zappe
Well,
to
I mean,
be the starter for some of them.
yeah, I mean, he was the feel good story. Like, I mean, you date back to last year, Mac Jones had all the moments when he was yelling at Matt Patricia on the sidelines, talking about the quick game, talking about how everything was pissing him off. And you had Bailey Zappe step in in what was a terrible situation against the Packers, where Brian Hoyer goes down with a concussion and they just had to thrust out Zappe and say, all right, with whatever primitive knowledge you have of the offense, we're going to have you just try to do your best. And, he succeeded for what it was worth. They ended up falling short towards the end of the game and in overtime. But, he did his job in that game. And then, you go to the Detroit game and then the Cleveland game. He looked pretty great. And then, then I think the icing on top that, sent people completely over the moon was the Chicago Bears game.
Yeah, the Chicago game.
Where Mac Jones starts the game, looks horrible. I mean, he probably shouldn't have played the game anyways. He still looked apparently hurt. And they decided to put Zappe in the game, and on back-to-back drives throws incredible touchdown passes. And it was just like, are we watching the second coming right now? Is this like the next version of the Tom Brady story? Like the late round pick taking over for the high prize first round quarterback. I thought it made all of us think we were seeing it in real time. And then it just completely got erased because that Bears game got out of hand for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I try my best to forget that Bears game ever happened. That was the last win that the Bears had all season long. But I feel like we wanted Bailey Zappe to be that sort of second coming to Tom Brady, when in reality,
it was never going to be the case.
He's never going to be that.
I think the reason a lot of us also, part of the reason I kind of had and wanted to root for Zappe. I mean, listen, I think that Mac does possess more talent than him. I think that, he, physically has a higher ceiling. But I liked the idea of Zappe at least being on the active roster to push Mac Jones, because it was going to make him think, hey, my job isn't secure here. I need to go out and prove myself every single day, because this guy's right behind me and the fans are clamoring for him. So if I'm not, on my A game, going out there and competing, my job could be on the line.
And that sort of raises another point in my book, where it's the fans, right?
Yeah.
When the fans
were chanting for Zappe when he was in that Bears game.
So
openly calling for him,
openly calling for your backup. That doesn't, football, as much as it is a physical game, it's also a mental game.
Yeah. Mac Jones wasn't just getting booed. They were making chants for the backup quarterback.
So if you're looking at this move, it's not just, a normal roster move. I feel like it's a move to sort of help sort of re-inspire confidence in Mac Jones. Because last year he looked a little rattled.
Yeah.
A piss poor offense, really.
Listen,
all the schemes were
terrible. If you want to talk about like the position Mac Jones was in, it was a horrible one. I mean, Matt Patricia had no right to be near that offense. And I had so many gripes with him last year. I remember I was yelling just like vehemently at my co-host Tyler Stringfeld, talking about like when Patricia decided to bench Kendrick Bourne after missing one practice and he was in his doghouse. And I said, Matt Patricia had no right to even have a doghouse in the first place, let alone put Kendrick Bourne in it. Because when Kendrick Bourne was on the field for that team last year,
he was great.
Yeah, he was an AFC Offensive Player of the Week the week he finally played against the Bengals. He was that dynamic. And they decided the very next week they were facing the Dolphins. They were like, nope, we're going to shut your ass down again. It was like, what are you doing?
It made no sense. But to sort of get back to the Mac Jones, Bailey Zappe thing, if the fans are chanting for him and it makes it feel like he's not wanted there, that's gonna affect the psyche of your quarterback. And you don't want a 100%. Quarterback whose mind isn't all the way there, who's getting distractions from off the field. That's not what you want.
No, I mean, I look at this move in a similar light to when the Patriots, when they released Cam Newton at the end of the preseason and they designated Mac Jones as the starter. They said, listen, there was some discrepancy. Like, Cam Newton was on that team for a second year in the preseason. We were seeing a little bit of him, and then Mac Jones would come in, and we were seeing some of the early flashes from him, and we were like, hey, let's just get this guy the job. Let's stop like the whole show of like, oh, Cam has to play 3-4 weeks and then maybe he gets hurt or he doesn't do so good. And then Jones has to fill in and then he proves himself like that. They were like, no, he's just going to start from the jump. Week 1, throw him out there. And that's what they did. And I think it was for the better because he had a good rookie year. People will forget about that just because of how bad last year was. But he had a good rookie year. And outside of Jamar Chase, he had a chance to be the rookie of the year, at least offensively.
Yeah.
Offensively, I mean, listen, Jamar Chase caught fire his rookie year. There was no one that was going to catch him. But let's say you could like Thanos snap Jamar Chase out of the league and he didn't exist. You know, that Mac Jones would have been that rookie of the year. There was no one that was really close, in my opinion, that could have challenged him for it.
Yeah,
that was the
maybe Jalen Waddle,
maybe, but I think you like listen. Jamar Chase when his rookie year had a stellar rookie season. Like I can't even describe to you how great he was. Jalen Waddle, he was fine. Like he was, but you.
I was saying if you snap Jamar out of there, but
what I was going to say is Jalen Waddle, like he didn't have a Jamar Chase level rookie year. Yeah. It wasn't to that level. Like he's gotten up there now in like his second year or so, but it wasn't like that from the jump. So if you were to take Jamar Chase out of the league and you had to decide between a Jalen Waddle who's kind of developing and then a quarterback, you're going to probably go with the quarterback if you were a voter in that situation. So that was my thoughts with that. But yeah, it's a very similar thing to the Cam Newton situation where I'm not saying that Bailey Zappe has the accolades of Cam Newton or anything like that. Obviously not. But there was some idea of competition there to where it was like, all right, if this guy's on the roster, are people going to say, all right, should Cam come in the situation if Mac starts to struggle? And they were like, we're not even going to think about that. We're going to cut Cam. He's not going to be part of the organization. They didn't even bring him back on like a practice squad thing. And they said, all right, Mac, this is your team. And I think they're doing that again because when they did it the first time, it proved to be a good shot of confidence and he went out there and he balled out. So it's hopeful that, you know, under this Bill O'Brien offense, it's similar enough to, I think, what Josh McDaniels ran his rookie year. And, you know, you hope to replicate that success.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, really.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you do have some worries there, only having one quarterback on the roster, especially. Can we touch on the offensive line for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll touch on that with you in just a second.
Okay.
But I want to stick with Mac and all that just for a moment. So I know you mentioned the quarterback situation. I do think that I'm pretty sure the NFL this year reworked their emergency quarterback rule. So, you know, it kind of had to, you know, you had mentioned it goes back to what happened with the 49ers, you know, down the stretch in the NFC Championship game and things like that. So there were some guys that weren't active and able to play and whatnot. But I think that you can still have an emergency quarterback and they don't need to be like on the 53 man. Like they can dress and they can be at the game. And it's almost just like, yeah, if Mac goes down, you can put like Zappe or whoever in and then, you know, deal with it as it goes. It's a weirder rule now.
Yeah, it definitely gives organizations a little more leeway.
Yeah.
So I don't hate the idea of only having one quarterback rostered just because you're able to fill out the rest of the roster as best as you possibly can.
Because I believe Zappe can still dress.
Yeah.
You can still dress him and he can still go out there. Now, I mean, the question then just becomes like, oh, if it becomes like a blowout game, like one way or the other, do you still want to have Mac Jones out there with the threat of him getting hurt? That is up for debate still as to whether you want to do that. So I don't know if you have to have a phantom injury or something like that have to happen for Mac to get out of the game, but
yeah, I'm not sure how,
but that's neither here nor there. Let's just assume like normal games, you know, Mac has to play all 4 quarters. Sure. So that's the idea there. So maybe this is one of those things where people are like, oh, Bill's playing chess, not checkers, like blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. But yeah, Mac Jones, he's in his 3rd year, Zeke.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you look at what a lot of these quarterbacks are getting on the open market now. Daniel Jones just got an absolute bag from the Giants. And Mac Jones, you know, you're getting towards the end of that rookie contract. And the Patriots are going to be at a crossroad here. It's going to be, do we really want to invest the millions of dollars that, you know, these quarterbacks are now getting on the open market, and not even like the high price, not even like the Patrick Mahomes or the Josh Allens or the Justin Herberts of the world. Daniel Jones is great, but he's not at that level, but he's still got a lot of freaking money. What do you need to see from Mac Jones this year to warrant the Patriots keeping him on that kind of a contract for the future?
I would need to see not just a return to his rookie form, but showing some improvement from that. Like if he gets back to where he was as a rookie, that's good. We're moving back in the right direction. But I don't know that itself would warrant that, you know, big money contract. or a big contract extension or anything like that.
Because listen, I admitted like the rookie year for Mac Jones was good, but it was good in the idea that you thought you could build upon it and move, advance yourself going forward. If his, ceiling is just that rookie season, then yeah, I don't know if it's worthy of that next contract.
I was going to say it's good. It was good. It was a good rookie season for a rookie.
Yeah. The idea is that you can build on it, not plateau and sit on your laurels.
Yeah. So when it comes to, seeing what Mac Jones will become and if he can improve on that rookie form, if he gets back to the rookie form and has some improvements, maybe, throws less interceptions than he did as a rookie, more touchdowns, is better statistically, maybe wins more games. That's great. Then we have something to say, okay, we have something that works here. There's a reason why he's our guy.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones's rookie year, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks, QBR of 92.5, or that was his QBR was 50.9. His rating was 92.5. And then he was a Pro Bowler, second in Rookie of the Year, as I had mentioned. Yeah. And was relatively regarded as a good rookie quarterback. It was like, hey, Bill might have found something in this guy. The next season, only had 14 touchdowns. I know he was injured, but that played a factor as well. And, he did cut the interception numbers down, but again, he missed games. So you don't know what he would have done in those moments. So he had a couple of multi-interception games last year as well. And at times looked really just, the word I had been using was putrid. Like it was it looked bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, you can fault him for the offense that he was in, having to run all those screen passes, not really being able to push the ball downfield. And I mean, listen, in the games he did, it looks like an NFL offense and it looked like he could, execute. But yeah, I think at least the rookie year is where you want to see him get back to. I mean, I think a Pro Bowl should be at least something on the table here. Maybe you try to, I mean, listen, in terms of the team success, I want them to be in that playoff discussion. It's going to be an absolute buzzsaw though, right now with the AFC East. I mean, not just with the Jets and the Bills that they're doing, but the Dolphins look very formidable right now, even without the potential acquisition of Jonathan Taylor. Just Tua back for another year. He looks pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to sort of gauge, but if we're sort of in that wild card discussion, maybe not like division winner.
No, exactly.
But like if we're in the wild card discussion and not, I want to see us make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if we fall in, listen, Mac Jones can go out, he can throw 30 touchdowns. And if we end up in last place in the division, it's still not a win, in my opinion. I think that we still need to see him step up and win you a game. I don't know if there's really been a game yet that I can say Mac Jones won. I think there was like a Texans game, I think his rookie year that, he had to play down the stretch, but like that's against the Houston Texans. I don't think there's been a big game yet against a winning team that Mac Jones has been the reason the team has won. Like he's gotten close, like he's done good, but he's always fallen short, like against the Bengals and the Bucks and the Cowboys. When he's faced that big competition, he's actually balled out and he's made some big plays, but has never been able to take it over the top and get that win. So that's something I want to see as well. I want to see him finally, him be the reason. Similar to, obviously, I'm not comparing him to a Tom Brady, but there were times where Tom Brady won you a football game.
Yeah.
So I want to see a time where Mac Jones can go win you a football game and you don't have to just rely on the defense or the run game or the line holding up, which is something that we will discuss because that is pretty dangerous right now. So, that's something I want to see from Mac Jones. I'm thinking that at least I want to see that game that I can say Mac won that one.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll leave with that. But Zeke, I had just mentioned the O-line and
I want to talk offensive line.
And frankly, yeah, which is awesome because, O-line, it isn't the sexiest thing to discuss. And I know the Patriots for a while, like the big discussion was, what are the Patriots going to do at running back? And they went out and they spent a bunch of money, brought in Ezekiel Elliott from the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are happy with that move. They think he could be a good third down back for us, back up Ramondre Stevenson. But the bigger issue right now, a lot of people argue, is with this O-line because they frankly don't have anyone. I mean, Cole Strange got hurt early on in training camp. Michael Onwenu, who I have listed as well, didn't get on the field until like this week. So he's been kind of up and down. I mean, his rookie year, he was a monster for this team, but the fact that he's been injury riddled and then, Riley Reif, who was one of the bigger, signings that we made this offseason because we didn't end up dedicating a lot of money to one singular guy. So Riley Reef was one of these people that we brought in. He's 35 years old. A lot of people have said the tread on his tires is basically gone, and he got hurt in the final preseason game of the year. So Zeke, we're going up against potentially the best pass rush in the league. First game of the season. How nervous are you for this O-line?
I'm terrified. I'm quaking in my boots as we speak. I mean, and if I'm Mac Jones, I'm scared because he's not a mobile quarterback, guys. He can move a little bit more than Tom Brady, but that's like old man 45-year-old Tom Brady.
I mean, when you're saying he can move more than Tom Brady, that doesn't say much.
That says almost nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not a statue in the pocket, but he's certainly not. I don't trust him to run around. The offensive line is an absolute crapshoot. I mean, it is. I think the best way that I would describe it is we are still building offensive lines like we have Dante Scarnecchia as our offensive line coach.
Yeah,
they pick up a bunch of people in late rounds and they say, okay, these guys will find something to do with them.
Well, Scar isn't there anymore.
Exactly.
Scar is gone. I mean, you used to literally put absolute trash in front of Dante Scarnecchia, and he could turn it to gold. And he was able to just coach these guys up and get it good. But yeah, to be honest with you, Zeke, I haven't seen an O-line that's had me this nervous since about 2013. Because if you remember back to that 2013 O-line, they just had so many injuries. Sebastian Vollmer had a broken leg. Ryan Wendell, their center, was just was getting hurt for them, and they had injuries left and right on that O-line. It reminds me a lot of that team 10 years ago now.
Yeah, so it's definitely very worrying. And look, nothing against Adrian Clem, right? He's in his first year as an offensive line coach, and it's you can't expect someone who's in their first year to do what Scarnecchia did, because I mean, Scarnecchia was just probably one of the greatest like assistant coaches of all time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just can't expect poor Adrian Clem to just make something out of this line. I mean,
Scarnecchia, for God's sake, was tenured longer than Bill Belichick here. That's how long he was around. You think Bill Belichick has been with this team forever? No. Dante Scarnecchia was here, I think 5 years before Bill even stepped in the building. I think he was here in 94. So he's been around the block, and he's retired at certain points too, and then come back for other stretches. But yeah, man, it is rough to see what's going on right now. And frankly, I don't even know if Scarnecchia could get this right, because I don't even think we have a real right tackle right now.
They've been trading to get more sort of offensive line pieces.
I mean, we had Riley Reef, who was a tackle, but we moved him to guard. I mean, that's how bad it's been. We're just shifting guys around, and we don't even know what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's been rough. And I played offensive line.
Sure.
Throughout my entire playing career, I was an offensive lineman, I was a defensive lineman. I care a lot about the trenches.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have talented people on this roster. David Andrews is still there. For what it's worth, Trent Brown is still there. He's a walking offsides penalty, false start penalty.
I mean, listen, the deal with Trent Brown, though, is you never know what you're going to get with him. When he's on, he's one of the better O-linemen in the league, and he can hold up, and he's, just an absolute beast because he's he's almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So, when he's on, he's great. But you never know if he's going to show up to camp out of shape, if he's just going to be, like you said, jumping and having false start penalties. So it's always a mess with him. Like he's, either he's always one or the other. It's never just down the middle with him. So yeah, that's been an issue. David Andrews, listen, did he retire? I thought, is he back?
No, he's there.
He is back.
Yeah, we have David Andrews, and then we picked up another rookie with the last name of Andrews as well.
Okay, that's what it was.
Jake Andrews out of Troy. But
yeah, that's what it was.
We're gonna. I feel like it's gonna be just a mix and match, offensive line, at least until we are certain that Cole Strange is gonna be back and filling in that left guard spot.
Yeah, I mean, what do you even think about Cole Strange? I mean, he was solid last year, but he didn't wow me for taking him for being a first round draft pick. I mean, listen, if you're an O-lineman getting selected in the first round, in my opinion, you need to be a standout guy. And I'm not saying you need to be Zach Martin, who was just a cornerstone for the Cowboys.
It's hard to be a Zach Martin.
Yeah,
he's one of the best.
You can't be a Zach Martin, but or even an Eric Fisher or something like that. Those guys were pretty good when they were at their peak. But and my expectation usually is
be like a Pat's Nate Solder.
Yeah, if you're an O lineman, I want to see you have an impact from the get-go if you're a first rounder. It needs to warrant it. Otherwise, we can pick up guys in the third, fourth round and develop them. But if you're supposed to be this first round draft pick, who's the other guy too from the Falcons? Lindstrom.
Yeah.
Like that's the expectation I think that should come with an O-lineman, is that you are an absolute anchor of that O-line. We are, we trust you and we know what you're going to do. It's not like, oh, he's a project, we got to develop him. It's like, no, he is your stopgap guy from the go. I know that might be an unreasonable expectation, but that's what I expect when you take that guy first round. Otherwise, let him drop.
I was going to say it's sort of tough. It's a lot easier to see that sort of impact when you're drafting a lot of offensive linemen who get drafted in the first round or tackles. And it's really easy to see the impact of a tackle.
Sure.
Inside, interior line, guards, centers, it's a lot tougher to sort of gauge whether or not, they're really making that much of a difference in the game. Now, sorry to all the guards out there. I understand your pain. I'm with you. But it was just one of those things where, they're working with double teams. They're, working on getting to the second level. Zeke, if this was an issue though, if it's so difficult to recognize, why did they, because when they picked Cole Strange, it was considered a stretch at the time. It wasn't like Cole Strange was like this lock to be a first round draft pick. It was like, yeah, he could go. It could be kind of whatever, but no, I just don't get it. I don't know why, it's just tough. It's all about, the reason why we picked Cole Strange is athleticism. He has,
and it's the projectability. I get it, but
the tough, again, and I keep on saying the tough part, but we picked Cole Strange because we were like, our offensive line coaches can develop him. Our offensive line coaches can take the athleticism that he has and they can make him better and make him this big wow first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Our offensive line coach last year was Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
Yikes. He's not developing anything.
No.
The only thing he's developing is an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you can't look at Cole Strange and be like, well, you didn't live up to potential. Yeah, no, for lack of a better term, no crap, Sherlock.
Yeah.
It's just like, of course he's not going to live up to expectations. He had Matt Patricia as an offensive line coach. Now we'll see what Adrian Clem can do. But it's not, I don't think that's, it's fair to really judge Strange off of just that one season where everything was wrong.
Sure. Yeah. I get that. Listen, it's always a crapshoot with that team, and with that position, especially the fact that Skarnecki is out. You had Patricia last year, and now you got Adrian Clem.
Yeah.
So it is tough, but yeah, I thought that at first, going into this Eagles game, there might have been some shot that maybe this thing could hold up and they could battle it out well, but
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm pretty scared now because listen, it's not just like you have a bad O line and Mac Jones could get hurt. This Patriots team is very run heavy. They basically designed their game about saying, all right, we're gonna feed Ramondre Stevenson, probably feed Zeke near the goal line, and they're gonna do the work in the trenches for us. But if you have no trenches, you're gonna be screwed. That's the whole thing. Is to have a run game, you need to have at least a suitable offensive line, a capable one, a conscious one. That's a minimum.
Yeah, we were getting even in preseason, we're getting no push.
Yeah,
and that was against backups.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting minimal push against the Houston Texans. We keep on ragging on the Houston Texans, but you compare the Texans to the Eagles, it's like they're playing a different sport.
Mm-hmm.
They have Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis. What's the person they picked up this year? Jalen Carter. They have an amazing defensive line that are going to eat our guys alive.
Oh my God. Yeah. This has been an issue since week one of the preseason when people first got a look at this team. People were just a lot of people were just saying, yeah, this is going to be an issue for us. And Bill Belichick did go out and he made some trades late in the season or late in the preseason just because he saw how bad it was, really looking. He said, all right, I think we got a guy from the Browns in exchange for Pierre Strong. And then we acquired another guy as well because he said, like, all right, this thing is getting really bad. We need to get at least someone on this roster.
Yeah, I would think we got one guy from the Browns and a guy from the Vikings.
That's correct. Yes. I'm pretty sure the guy from the Vikings has some playing experience before. I think he's played like 2 years in the league, so he could be something potentially.
Browns guy doesn't have any playing experience, but that he's a big guy. He's like 6'6", 380 or something.
Yeah, but what are you throwing gym teachers out now at this point? Like what are we doing? Like
I have no idea.
It really is a struggle. So hopefully the Patriots can get things together. In your opinion, for Bill Belichick, what is I'd say he has probably one of the safer jobs in the league. I know a lot of people are talking about potential hot seat situation or things like that. So I'm not saying like, oh, he misses the playoffs but they win 10 games or something. And it's like, oh yeah, you got to fire him. But what is the expectation that you need to keep for Bill Belichick in order to, have him stay another year with this team? Obviously you have to respect the legacy and everything that he has, but at what point do you say, all right, maybe we need to consider moving on?
I say, if you have a winning record, I say you keep them.
Yeah.
If you have a losing record, but it's a losing record where you're like competing for that last playoff spot in the final week,
you're like what 1-2 games under 500?
Yeah, you'd be like 1 game under 500
sure.
maximum. Because ideally, I think that final playoff spot is going to be someone who's like 9-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
If you're 8-9.
You're likely on the outside looking in.
Yeah, you're on the outside looking in, but I would still probably be like, well, I don't know, maybe 1 more year of Bill.
Mm-hmm.
If this roster like bottoms out and you get like
5 wins,
6 wins even, that seat's heating up. It's hard for me to really pull the trigger and ever really say fire Bill Belichick.
It's such an impossible thing to say, but you look at all the other coaches that have been in his potential shoes. You look at Tom Landry and Don Shula, like coaches that at one point were considered untouchable, but then Jerry Jones takes over the Cowboys and he says, all right, my first act as owner is to fire Tom Landry and bring in Jimmy Johnson and do all that stuff there. Like it was like, that is an impossible position to be in. But it happened, and they went in that direction. Now, I mean, I don't know if that will ever happen with Bill Belichick. I think just the history with him and Kraft and everything that's gone on there, it's so rich because I think you lose Bill Belichick. You don't just lose, you don't just lose the coach. You also lose the GM, which I mean, wouldn't be the worst thing based on some of the moves that he's made. But now you do have to fill 2 positions now, and get 2 guys that are potentially on the same page, have the same mission and stuff going forward, which. Yeah. Based on another team we'll talk about in a little bit, can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. So, the Patriots, they open their season against the Eagles. They'll be at home again, face the Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys, Saints, Raiders. I mean, that's going to be a tough opening stretch for this team. I mean, especially like when you get towards the Jets and everything like that. For some reason, I still feel like you can take on the Cowboys. I feel like, even though they're as good as they are, Bill Belichick has always been able to figure something out with them, whether that's the case this time or not. I think that we'll have to see how that plays out. Saints, I think you got that. Raiders will be interesting just because second go around with Josh McDaniels are facing Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's going to be an interesting start to the season. In your opinion, what do you think the Patriots' overall record will be based on what the talent that you've seen so far?
I'm always more on the optimistic side.
Sure.
And going into the season, I was thinking probably something like 11-6, 10-7. Right now I'm looking at maybe like a 9-8.
Yeah.
That's still on the optimistic side for me.
Yeah.
I think that will be good enough to maybe get like 7 seed, maybe 6 seed if they win a couple games that are like those 50-50 games. But
yeah,
well, probably something within the 8 to 10 range is my expectation.
All right. Well, Zeke, before we transition over to college football, I want to hear one player that you were up on and one player that you are down on going into this year for the Patriots after, the preseason and everything that you saw.
Okay. So one player that I'm up on, I'm very interested to see how Kayshon Boutte plays, whether or not he'll actually get any sort of game time reps, because when he was in the preseason, I saw some flashes like he showed early on in his tenure at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So if Boutte sort of shows even more flashes, we might have another classic Bill Belichick late round wide receiver who's coming up through the ranks and really showing off.
Sure.
Player who I am sort of more down on. It's more, that's definitely tougher to sort of key in on. I'd say probably Sean Wade. He's been on the roster. I just haven't seen anything.
I just haven't seen him.
Well, I mean,
I've just heard the name Sean Wade for so many years, and it's like, who the hell is this guy? It's like, yeah, Sean Wade can't play this week. I'm like, yeah, I still don't know who he is.
I mean, he's just, I don't know. I haven't seen as much from him that's really warranting that roster spot over some other people who got cut. Also, one last thing I want to touch on: the second round rookie Keon White is a menace.
He looks awesome. He was going to be one of the guys that I was up on.
Yeah, I'm also up on him. So sorry to steal your thunder there for a little bit.
Well, I mean, I at least can say the guy that I'm really interested in as well, outside of Keon White, is the other wide receiver we took, Demario Douglas. I'm really liking Pop Douglas. He looks to be pretty solid. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do for this team. And then guy I'm kind of down on. I mean, listen, Riley Reef would be an easy one, but I guess I would kind of go with Cole Strange. I mean, just based on what we've seen so far, I want to see that jump, and just, getting hurt earlier in the year, it's not a great look, but I know that, that's going to be tough to see. So hopefully he can get back on track with that. But he would be one of the guys that I'm, a little worried about right now going into the year. But Zeke, we're going to transition over to some college football news. I'm going to let you kind of lead off with this segment because you're the big college football guy. You're the voice of the Bryant Bulldogs for their college football.
Absolutely.
So, so get into it. What are some stories you want to talk about?
All right. So first things first, the college football season is back, folks. And I'll tell you what, I was counting down the days like an advent calendar. My family started to get worried. But week 0 is in the books. Now week 0 happens. It's like a couple, maybe like 6 or 7 games that get played before week 1 officially starts. So some teams during week 1 will be, like already 0-1 going into the week, or 1-0 going into the week. Now, we had 2 ranked teams play during week 0, Notre Dame and USC. Now, Notre Dame faced off against the U.S. Navy over in Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Don't ask me why the U.S. Navy was playing in Ireland.
I mean, it is kind of badass though to see a game in Ireland.
It's a cool venue, and it's a great way to kick off the season.
I mean, with Notre Dame too, like
Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish in Ireland.
It's awesome.
The storylines were there to begin with. They routed Navy 42-3, and then USC played San Jose State and beat them 56-28. Now, the big storyline for me is the quarterback play for those 2 games. Sam Hartman looked fantastic. 4 passing touchdowns for Sam Hartman, and really added a new pop to the Notre Dame offense that we haven't seen in years. Notre Dame hasn't really had a quarterback that's added a wow factor to the offense since, I'm trying to even remember, maybe Brady Quinn.
Oh, wow.
Like it's been a while. Ian Book did not add that wow factor.
No.
Sean Kaiser didn't add that wow factor. So needless to say, it's been a little bit. And Caleb Williams, returning Heisman winner, also threw 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Williams is not going to be he's a big storyline, and the offense looked fantastic, but I got a sneeze loading up for a second.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm going to try to power through it. But the big storyline for USC is going to be their defense. Can their defense do anything? They let up 28 points to an experienced San Jose offense, but I mean, they should have shut them down.
Sure.
You had months to prepare for this game, and you let up 28 points to San Jose State. You let Chevin Cordero, who's in his like 6th year, former Hawaii quarterback, now at San Jose State, you let him convert a 3rd and 22 by scrambling for it.
Jeez.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So that's the big, I would say that's the big storylines from week 0. Now for more of a local storyline, the UMass Minutemen.
I saw that.
Have won a game. So congratulations to all the UMass fans out there. You got your designated 1 win per season. I'm kidding. You have an FCS game later on the year, so you'll actually double your win total.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm taking pot shots at UMass. I got friends who go there.
That's all good. It's warranted.
But congratulations to UMass. They've already matched their previous 2 seasons totals for wins just in week 0. So way to go for them. Now, coming up in week 1, are a couple games that I want to highlight that I'm very excited about. First things first, it's getting kicked off on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Tuesday through even Monday. That's week 1.
Wow.
Since it's not competing with NFL or anything like that, you have Thursday. You have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Okay. Wow.
Now, a lot of games because a lot of the teams aren't playing each other. They're playing FCS opponents.
Yep.
For a lot of them. The big one tomorrow is going to be Florida versus Utah.
Okay.
Utah ranked number 14 in the nation right now. It's going to be played in Salt Lake, so the altitude might be a factor there. Not being played in the swamp like last season. Florida won the last game with a last-second interception. This one is going to be interesting because if you are high on Utah and you want Utah to win this game, there's going to be one factor that determines whether they will or whether they might not. And that's the health of their quarterback, Cam Rising. He got injured. He tore his ACL in the Rose Bowl against Penn State early on this year. I think January 1st, maybe, or January 2nd, one of those days. But it was very, very early on in the year. So he's trying to come back and play in this game. If he's about a 50-50, whether or not he'll actually play. If he's in, he adds a new dynamic, element to the offense. If not, we'll have to see if Wisconsin transfer Graham Mertz can really lead the Florida Gators to that promised land.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to skip over the Friday slate. I'm not going to talk about Miami, Florida versus Miami, Ohio. That's the Miami Bowl.
Let's just skip to it. Skip to the next thing.
We're skipping over at on Saturday. The couple ones that I want to highlight. Big attention going to be on Colorado's program now with Deion Sanders as the head coach.
That's going to be awesome. So, I mean, Deion, I know at least had some health complications early in the year. A lot of people thought he was going to lose his foot. So, I mean, the fact that he'll be back on the sideline is going to be good for that team too.
Absolutely. And, they're going to be at TCU in Fort Worth against the defending Big 12 champions.
Yeah.
And the
we don't even want to talk about the national championship with them.
National championship runner-ups.
But did they was it really a runner-up? I mean, they got slaughtered in that game. So I can't even call them the second place finishers.
The runner-up was Georgia running up the score.
Exactly.
Other big games that I want to highlight for that one, we're going to touch on the one that's happening at night, being the Saturday Night Football highlighted game on ABC. It's going to be 21st ranked North Carolina with Drake May as the quarterback. He's one of those quarterbacks that people are watching for maybe a first round pick.
Sure. For
this next upcoming draft, playing at South Carolina. South Carolina's listed as the home team. It's a neutral site game being played at the Carolina Panthers field, actually.
Oh, wow.
So Drake May versus Spencer Rattler. So that should be a pretty important matchup.
It's going to be a great return for college football coming up this weekend. Zeke, there was one other thing I wanted to discuss in college football with you, and that was the Netflix documentary Swamp Kings that had just come out.
Oh,
have you watched it yet?
So I haven't had a chance to watch Swamp Kings fully, but I know a lot about the stories of the 2008 Gators.
Yeah. So for, those of you who don't know, the 2007, 2008 Gators, one of the just one of the premier, absolutely loaded football teams of our time, kind of compares to the U of the late 90s, early 2000s, where, the University of Miami, you had guys like Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Vince Wilfork. And you go to this Florida Gators team and you just look at some of the talent up and down that roster of Tim Tebow, Cam Newton even was on that team at one point. Percy Harvin,
the Pouncey brothers, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah. So therein lies the controversy with it, because not only were they going out there winning national championships and being extremely talented, but they also were full of a lot of controversy on that team. And a lot of people have been clamoring to say, hey, we finally want to have a documentary to discuss this. And we got it with Netflix's documentary Swamp King. So I'm about 2 to 3 episodes in right now. I have it's a 4-part series, so they're about 45 minutes each if you guys are thinking about watching it. I can say this, it's pretty good for what it shows. Now, what it focuses on more is the kind of the success of the team and what you're seeing. So at least the first 2 episodes, it's about them getting to that point, winning that first national championship, which at the way it's made to believe is that there were really no controversies leading up to that first national championship, and everything essentially came afterwards. Now, they were still known for being kind of hard on each other, having really demanding practices, and Urban, kind of being the stickler that he was. But the way it's panned is that, after that first national championship, then all the issues start to arise. But even then, they don't really cover a lot of the things. I've heard that Aaron Hernandez is mentioned once in the documentary, and it was just about the fact that Tim Tebow and him got into a bar fight together, not the fact that he allegedly shot and killed a guy while he was there. They don't mention the Pouncey twins at all. And there are a lot of things that just don't get mentioned. They don't talk about Urban Meyer's health or any of the phone calls that get made. Chris Rainey, I think was his name. Is that correct? Let me look this up.
Are you talking about like the quarterback?
No. Rainey. Yeah, Chris Rainey was a football running back at Florida. There was a controversy at the time where he sent a text to his girlfriend that said, quote, "time to die." Was not mentioned at all in the documentary, was a big controversy at the time. So it seems that they are leaving a lot of important aspects out of this documentary, where these were some of the things people were hoping to see. Like, listen, we know a lot of people, they know the story of the success that team had, but it wasn't just the fact that, this was a good team that went out and won national championships. It's like, hey, every national championship has that story. Every national champion can say, hey, we had a loaded roster. We went out there, we won the national championship. That wasn't the story with them. It was the fact that they did all this in spite of their controversies.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, I can say this, that thing was made by Urban Meyer's PR people. It is absolutely crazy how favorable he looks in all of this. Because, I mean, if you just go back to 2 years ago with how Urban Meyer flamed out as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, everyone was completely, going at him and being like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, to discipline a kicker, he decided to kick him in the leg. He wasn't flying back on the team planes. He was going to his own bar in Ohio when the team was in Cleveland. And, he was completely just being a mess out there when he was coaching the Jaguars. And this documentary takes a lot of the things that he does. And listen, Urban Meyer is an incredible coach. I mean, at least at the college level. And some of the disciplinary things that he did, I mean, it seemed to, warrant a lot of success. But there are other moments where I'm going, you kind of, you might have taken that far, and maybe that's why your NFL career didn't really work out so well. So you kind of see some of the tea leaves there, but they never really say like, hey, Urban, maybe you shouldn't have done some of these things. He was like, yep, I did that, and that's how we won.
Yeah, it's always interesting, especially when it's like a documentary series.
Yeah,
to sort of view who, what are they showing? What are they what are they excluding from it? Mm-hmm. And it seems like they excluded a lot of information that would have really probably changed some of the narratives that they wanted to wanted to show.
And I'm sure they probably did that too, because there were some guys in the documentary that had their own controversies, and some of them, they like some stuff was brought up and it said like, hey, this guy got into a fight. This guy was, drunk doing something like, and was kind of, out there, like being kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to the level where it was like, we need to I think if they had talked about more of the controversies, there's a chance that not as many people would have signed up to be in the documentary.
That's definitely
because I think they were like, hey, I don't want to answer for this. I'm not talking about it. And instead of just saying so and so refused to comment on the issue, they just said, all right, we're just gonna beat around the bush with this, which sucks because the Untold series on Netflix got off to a rough start, but I think they really hit their stride with the Manti Te'o doc, the girlfriend that didn't exist. If you haven't seen that doc, check it out. It was basically the first case of catfishing on like that celebrity level.
Yeah.
With how that all went down. And then they also just made the Johnny Manziel documentary as well this summer. I watched that. That was really good. And from what I'm seeing so far, I mean, it could, in my opinion, improve. And listen, I like what I've seen so far of what is being shown, but I do think that they could have dove into so much more with that group.
Again, I haven't had a chance to really watch it, but I think that's probably a realistic expectation for it.
The way I've heard it described is that if another good documentary, I mentioned the U, which was the University of Miami in that in that late 90s, early 2000s, that 30 for 30 I've heard is just miles ahead of where this documentary is, where this docu-series is. So apparently if you want to go watch a good series that shows all the good, all the bad, go watch that series because that'll give you the full breakdown. So that's what I heard with that.
And I just really quickly want to touch on one more college football game.
Sure.
On the Sunday the 3rd, it's the biggest matchup of week 1. And it's not even close. Number 5 LSU, at number 8 Florida State, marquee matchup. It's taking place on a neutral site field. Once again, this one is taking place in Orlando. But that one is going to be, if you want to watch only one college football game all week, all of week 1, watch that one. That's going to have the most national ramifications.
Sure. All right. Well, that's what we have in football news for you guys. We're going to do a quick baseball minute before we do go down to the wire. And we're going to touch on the Boston Red Sox. So that has been an absolute mess so far. I don't know if I ended up getting the final score of their game today. How did they end up finishing off today? I believe they ended up losing to the Astros. Red Sox score. Sorry, should have had that up previously.
7-4.
Yep. So 7-4. They got swept by the Astros at home. They now sit, I believe, 7.5 games out of that final wild card spot. So it's looking worse and worse every single day for this team. And I mean, this entire series against the Astros and even dating back to Mookie Betts' return to Fenway, I mean, it's been a rough weekend and week for this team. So let's take it back to this weekend, at least, where Mookie Betts, who, famously we traded him for, pennies on the dollar, got back Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, who is now no longer a member of this team, and Connor Wong, who's a serviceable catcher. So that was the return for one of the best players in all of baseball. He is now wearing Dodger blue, comes back into Fenway and absolutely shreds you. I mean, he goes 7 for 15, has a home run, scored, I think 4 or 5 runs on his own right. So, he pantsed you. He won the trade. He came back in. He proved why he was worth that money, and you decided not to give it to him. So that was a rough way to start the weekend. I mean, listen, it sucks to see him in that other uniform, but as a Red Sox fan who hated the trade from the get-go, I mean, Zeke, my first show on this, doing Down to the Wire, I've done over 200 episodes now. My first episode was discussing the Mookie Betts trade as it was happening when it was going down. And I was like, please, don't let these rumors be true. And I remember the trade actually got stalled for a little bit. And I was like, Boston, this is your chance. You can back out now, try to rework a deal, try to do something. And what ended up being the return was just far from, what we should have gotten for him. And it's a shame that that's what it came to.
Yeah.
But you do feel kind of vindicated knowing that, you were right in the end.
Yeah. I was watching some of those games over the weekend, and my only thought was, why can't we have players like that? And why can't we have a Mookie Betts?
Oh, wait, we did.
Yeah, we did. We had one. Oh man.
Yeah. And it sucks because those players don't grow on trees. And Chaim Bloom came out and he ended up saying, we weren't in the position to surround Mookie Betts with talent. He said, we didn't doubt that Mookie was going to be a talented player. We knew he was going to be talented, but we couldn't surround him with talent. And to that, I say, I want to call bull on that, because the year prior to, that in 2019 season, You won the goddamn World Series and you won 119 games doing it. A lot of those guys were still on that 2019 roster going into 2020. It's not like everyone up and left. I know that some pieces went and it was kind of crazy, but let's throw 2020 out the door. You go from, because that season was kind of a joke. A lot of players opted out. Let's just throw that out the door. If you go to 2021, they were in game 6 of the ALCS, ready to go back to the World Series where, I think they had a good shot to take down that Atlanta Braves team. So, I mean, had you surrounded, and especially if you put Mookie Betts in that lineup, I think that you might win that series.
I agree.
So that's the part where it just makes you go, what the hell were they thinking? You had enough team, and this was a self-induced rebuild. This team did not need to pull the trigger and have to blow it all up. But they said, you know what? We're over the luxury tax. We want to get under. And John Henry was sick of spending the money. So he said, you know what, this is where I'm going to put my foot down. We're not going to pay this kid. And it's a damn shame because, he's a certified Hall of Famer and he's going to go in wearing Dodger blue.
Yeah.
Which stings, and it should, because he should still be here because he's producing probably better right now than he was during that MVP season in 2018. He's hitting 300 with close to 40 home runs right now. It's not even September. In my opinion, he probably should be that NL MVP if Olsen doesn't if Olsen's cools down it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's sad to say. It's sad to say because we had him and we traded him away in the prime of his career too. It's not like he was like an over the hill veteran. It's not like I mean, not to say that I liked the letting Xander Bogaerts go.
No,
but at least
with Xander Bogaerts, I knew that, listen, I fault the Red Sox for not paying Xander sooner.
Yeah.
When it got to the point in free agency and the Padres offered him 11 years, $285 million, I was like, honestly, thank God the Red Sox didn't say, oh yeah, we'll offer you that. Because I don't think that Xander Bogaerts is worth that money. But the Padres knew that that's what it was going to take him away from Boston because he loved it here so much.
Yeah. It's gotta go down as one of the biggest blunders in Red Sox history.
In my opinion, it is this generation's Babe Ruth trade.
I would be inclined to agree with that.
It is that bad, in my opinion, because of just what you traded away. Because not only did you trade away one of the best players in baseball, but you, I believe, irreparably damaged the future of the talent coming up, because they're all just going to say, all right, I'm going to get up there. I'm going to have my success. And by the time it comes for me to get that big contract, I know I'm getting lowballed. And that's just what it is. Like, I mean, it happened with John Lester when he was here. They offered him, I think it was like 4 years, like 70 million or something like that. And he went out in free agency and he doubled that with the Cubs. And the same thing happened with Mookie Betts. And I was like, don't let it get to this point, because you did it with Lester. You had to trade him to the A's. And you had the foolish belief that you were going to be able to sign him back in free agency. And there was no shot in hell that was ever going to happen. So the fact that it got to this point is disgusting. And frankly, I think if you hadn't bullied John Henry into basically signing Rafael Devers, you would have seen this entire thing play out again with him. It would have been like, oh, what are they going to do with Devers? Oh, Devers isn't liking the offer he's getting. Oh, they're going to potentially shop him at the deadline. And it would have been the same thing. But I think that there was such a big protest of that they all said, you know what, screw it. We'll throw a bag of money at Devers, shut you guys up, and be like, oh yeah, we do pay our players. But you didn't pay the one that actually mattered, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that set the precedent going forward. I think if Meyer comes up, he's going to see this and he's going to be like, all right, like, am I really going to get the money I deserve? So I'm sorry about that little rant there. That's just, so done with the ownership, the general manager, everything with it has been absolutely just pissing me off so far. And the Mookie Betts trade was it was kind of just the catalyst of all of it. And seeing him come back in this weekend, I miss him. I'm glad that he had success against the Red Sox, as much as I hate to say that, but it's what you deserve. So, I mean, listen, it's what this team deserves, but it's not what this fan base deserves. And listen, the Red Sox lately, they really haven't been showing much for this fan base. I mean, you go into this game on Monday. Zeke, you were at the Red Sox game on Monday at the start of this Astro series, which was going to be a pivotal turning point for this series potentially for the Red Sox, because say they went in, swept the Astros, at least took 2 games out of 3, they would, still be kind of treading water heading into September and being like, all right, we can still compete for a wild card spot here.
Fighting for it.
Yeah. But instead, they go out there in that first game. They are battling it out with the team. They take a lead on an Adam Duvall 2-run home run.
Yes.
And they send Kyle Barraclough out on the mound, who, if you don't know, Kyle Barraclough has been kind of up and down between the major leagues this year. I had actually seen him a little bit in AAA Worcester. So in the games I saw with him, it was fine. He was just kind of thrown out there to eat some innings, would probably, throw about 4 or 5 innings, and they would turn it over to the Red Sox bullpen. And that was really it. But they then brought him up to the major league roster, and they were just kind of using him as a bulk guy. And what I saw on Monday is perhaps one of the worst pitching outings I've ever seen, just from a guy like Kyle Barraclough. Finished the game up throwing 94 pitches and through 4 1/3 innings. He allowed 10 runs, 11 hits, 5 walks, 3 home runs, and he hit 3 batters. And it was just like, all right, I think the first inning he went out there, he did fine. And then they said, all right, we kind of have to stretch this guy. And I think that it was like 7, 8, 9 at the bottom of the bottom of the order was coming out. So they said, all right, we'll throw him out there. Hopefully we can, spare, hopefully we can kind of, eat an inning here. And it was like, cool. And I think it was, I think like somehow like Altuve got to the plate. He tripled that inning.
Yeah.
And then the very next batter, Bregman comes up to the plate and he plunks him.
Yep.
At that point, it at least should be, hey, we need to get a guy up in the bullpen and
start warming up
and at least doing something, because this is getting pretty, he's starting to lose it here. And Yordan Alvarez is about to step up to the plate where he destroys baseballs.
Yeah.
So we should at least get something going here. And crickets in the Red Sox bullpen. Yordan Alvarez comes up, blasts a 3-run shot, takes the lead for the Astros, and it was night. Like it was over for that team. Altuve did end up going on to hit for the cycle off Barraclough, had the crucial home run to do it. And I mean, I can understand in a game where you are down maybe 3 runs, it's late in the game, and the manager can just say to a guy, hey, we're trying to spare some arms here. Even if you don't have it all, just go out there and throw the ball. Like just try to eat some innings, as long as you're not getting hurt, just, save us a couple arms here. It just happens, unfortunately, in those blowaway games. That wasn't the case here. The Red Sox had the lead. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even like it was tied. They were ahead. They lost the lead. And instead of saying, all right, let's try to, bring in a reliever, try to save this thing, they said, you know what? Game's over. We're just going to up and quit. I mean, Zeke, you were at this game, tell me your breakdown of all this.
Yeah. So I was, I had pretty good seats. I was there celebrating my birthday. It was a good,
happy birthday.
yeah. It was a great time. But I was at this game, I celebrating my birthday, and I'm sitting in a, like, sort of low down to the field. They're nice seats. But I was surrounded by Astros fans.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole nother issue. Tickets being so expensive that a bunch of Astros fans.
I'll discuss that in a second too. Yeah, but go on.
And, sort of back and forth and everything like that. The game goes, we're up 2 runs, and then they come back, tie it up. They take the lead by 1 run. Then we hit a 2-run homer. It's 4-3. We're up. I'm feeling good. And then Altuve, when Altuve tripled, I'm like, gosh darn it. Now, okay, we only have 1 out at this point, and now we have a runner on third.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bregman gets hit by a pitch. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's going to come back to bite us. Yordan Alvarez hits the homer. That's it. And then I'm just staring like into my hands, being like, what are we doing? And each and every inning after that, where Barraclough comes back onto the mound, my mom and I turn to each other and we're like, are we serious?
They're seriously not going to run this kid back out again.
Is this a joke? My mother, very nicely, she was like, get this guy off the field.
Yeah.
If my mother is saying, get this guy off the field, that's saying something. Yeah. She doesn't watch that much baseball, but even she can know, yeah, this guy's not having a good day. Get him out of there. But no, they threw him out there again and again and again and again. And it never crossed my mind that they had any confidence in this guy. It was a sheer waving of the white flag moment. And it was disgraceful.
Yeah. I mean, so I had seen a couple things going around online, basically the fact that, that like, I guess some of the medical staff only cleared a couple of the pitchers going into the game. I guess, I think like once they got to Barraclough, the only guys that were left were like, Chris Martin and then Kenley Jansen. But at a certain point, yeah, I think you do throw Chris Martin in that game because he's at least effective and could, buy you a couple innings. So, I mean, like
anything.
It could get you something. And the fact that you got the fact that you rode him out to the 7th inning is ridiculous. I mean, you can throw this all on this kid as you want, but he shouldn't have been out there as long as he was. I mean, I think that Alex.
Wait, do you say to the 7th?
Oh, was he out there for the 7th? Did he make it?
He was out there for the 7th and the 8th.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Even into the 9th.
Yeah.
At the top of the 9th, he was still out there.
Yeah. So that's the issue I see with it. It's not that like that's the problem too, is that you could have. All right. Let me rephrase this. I think that Alex Cora is a good manager. I've taken his side on a lot of things. This is a fireable offense, in my opinion, because listen, the kid, if he doesn't have it some nights, his final stat line shouldn't have looked like this. He probably should have been taken out at least 2 innings before this. At the very least. At least 2 innings before this. He should, as soon as you saw it going off the rails, it should have said, all right, we're going to pull the plug. Maybe he ended up letting up 3 or 4 runs by the time that would have happened. I don't have the exact like inning by inning breakdown, but it wouldn't have been as bad as this. For Alex Cora, he knew the kid was struggling out there. He knew he didn't have his stuff. Barraclough after the game, he ended up saying, like, I don't think I've ever thrown a baseball worse than that. And frankly, I know it's right, but, the manager does need to say, all right, kid doesn't have it tonight. We need to pull the plug, find something else to work. Even if you're putting a position player in the pitch at a certain point, like, because at that point, the game did get out of hand enough. It was like, all right, maybe we just do that. Like, but they could have done something. And, Cora just left him out to dry. It was embarrassing.
That
frankly.
is, we were talking about earlier in the show with Mac Jones having like the confidence breaker games. That is a confidence breaker game for Kyle Barraclough. He will probably never be the same pitcher again that he was before that game.
Good shot of it, I'd say. I mean, listen, and I think that this could have honestly just been Cora saying to like to the front office and whatnot, like, hey, this is what you're giving me. You're giving me Kyle Barraclough and a couple of scraps on a night where we need to win a baseball game here. And you know what? I'm going to stick this kid out here and leave him out to dry because this is what you've left me. And listen, I think that's a terrible move to do as a manager, but based on the position that he's put in, I mean, you're not given much here. And it sucks that you can't like send down a guy and bring him another pitcher and do something to make it work, but you've got to figure something out here. Cause that was completely unreasonable, and it could have all been avoided.
And it was just like, even if you are making a point to the front office, even if you are making a
public demonstration like that, though, like it's not even like when he wore the underdog shirt. That like, but go on there. This is ridiculous.
Like even if it is a public display aimed at management, your actions have consequences there, pal. You have essentially destroyed someone's career just because you want to make a point.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
point any other way. Have a meeting with them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've taken Cora's side on a lot of this, but if he's going to do this, then he's got to go.
Yeah. It's
like I've taken a side on a lot of things, but if this is the case, then yeah, he's got to be out. But I mean, that was just the start of it. We ended up dropping the next 2 to the Astros as well. And, as it sits right now, I believe we're 7.5 games out of that final wild card spot. Zeke, this has kind of been the Red Sox theme all season, is that, they originally were playing up to competition and they were doing well against these good teams. Hasn't been the case as of late. They've been playing bad against these good teams. Yeah. And they actually have the hardest remaining schedule of any competing team left in the big leagues. It's not looking good for this team. Now, it's very Red Soxian of them this year to go out and probably, win 10 straight games, be the best team in baseball, and then be 3 out and be like, hey, we're right back in it. We're going to rally right here. That's been the way they've that's how they've been the entire season. Now, after what you've seen right now, do you think that that's the pattern we're going to see? Or do you think that this is potentially the point where it really starts to go off the rails?
And I might be biased here just because I was at that game.
Sure.
It seems like going off the rails.
Sure.
That I think was as definitive as any turning point could possibly be. When you in the middle of a game give up.
Yeah.
Just clearly give up and say, "Hey, we're not even going to try to win this thing."
No.
When you are still fighting for a wild card spot,
Black Sox scandal style.
that's terrible.
Yeah.
Your team's not motivated now. Your team is seeing that you're giving up.
Mm-hmm.
What do they have to play for? What makes them think that you're going to rally, that you're going to win, that you're going to make it to the wild card?
Yeah.
There's nothing that inspires any confidence in me that they will rally whatsoever.
No. And the other thing too is like, I mean, I frankly don't have confidence in them either, but kind of a bigger point to this is that, I mean, if they're going to give up like this, they look to this fan base and they've said, since this rebuild, they had, and at the winter, like the Red Sox have this winter weekend thing that they do out in Springfield. And it's usually just this kind of like big, like happy, like fest. Like everyone's just like, hey, can't wait to watch the Red Sox this spring. But this year, a bunch of fans went out and they openly booed John Henry, Chaim Bloom, and the entire front office during like a Q&A session where they thought it was just going to be a complete, like they thought they were just going to greetings, but instead it was just brutal out there for them, which,
I think we talked about that on a previous show.
I think we did. And, they just got absolutely torn down by these Red Sox fans, and good for them because, that's what they deserved at that point.
So
yeah. And they had been coming out and saying like, hey, stick with this team, believe in us. We're going to prove some people wrong this year, and, just watch out because you'll see us. And I'm like, all right, you're telling us to believe in you and not quit on you, but you openly quit in a game. How are you supposed to go to this fan base and say, hey, stick with us because we're really fighting in this thing to the end, when you openly just give up? In my opinion, like I don't want this thing to be like an Oakland A's thing where you turn it into the Coliseum and you have nobody present at these games. But I would like to see it where, I don't think people not showing up is the answer for John Henry. But what's proven to work in the past is actually public humiliation, at least with him, at least for him to have action and get things done. And the reason I say that is you go back to the 2022-23 Winter Classic when the Bruins played in Fenway Park. They played the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
And John Henry is the principal owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So he showed up to Fenway wearing a Penguins sweater. He's like ready to go watch his team. And as he's walking into the stadium, fans are heckling him, telling him to sign Rafael Devers. They're calling him cheap. They're saying all this stuff to him. And then I think like 4 days later, Rafael Devers signed his contract. It's unbelievable. And it was just crazy to think how those events, like how they linked up pretty quickly. And I don't want to think of it being that deep, but if there's like chance or something, or there's signs outside the stadium that are saying like, hey, you got to actually invest some money in this team, he's the type of guy that might take that to heart and maybe have some action behind his words. So I think that's more the solution than just completely boycotting the team.
I say Red Sox fans should go be the biggest, Pittsburgh Penguins fans there ever were. Chant at the games, yeah. What you want.
A let's go Penguins chant would kind of be funny at Fenway Park.
Oh, that would be
see that breakout.
Great.
That would be very ironic based on just kind of have that just to show that. But yeah, like you said, like, I mean, fans are already kind of not showing up. I mean, the ticket prices are getting so insane. Like you mentioned, Astros fans are going out. I mean, did you see the crowd of Dodgers fans that went to the game? I mean, all of Lansdowne was covered in Dodger blue. It was insane. It's a takeover. And it didn't used to be like that at Fenway. Sure, you'll get your tourists that come in and, they enjoy the park, but it used to be that Red Sox Nation would pack out the park. And not just that, they would travel and pack out other parks. They would go to Washington, D.C. or Anaheim or Texas, and you would have Red Sox fans all around the place going in and traveling well. That's not the case anymore. It's the other way around, where all these other fans are seeing Fenway Park as a tourist attraction, which it is, and they're just flocking there. And that's the frustrating thing, because they have the ability to, really, they could have made the pitch to this team and to this fan base to say, hey, we're going to put some money in this team, believe in us. And there were just so many times where they refused to do so. So, Zeke, do you have any final words?
I would say my final thoughts are just, if you are the Red Sox, just try. just try.
Well, let's just go
even a little bit.
The bare minimum of professional sports. The bare minimum. Hey, just try your best, because we didn't see that on
good faith effort out. I mean, that's all I ask at this point. And it's so sad that's what I'm asking for.
I mean, in 2023,
attempt to play the game of baseball.
I mean, last year was difficult enough to watch based on what we had seen in 2021, but this year, man, is really starting to get on my nerves, because they're still trying to, sell the buy-in and being like, hey, September is going to be a crazy month. The rally's going to be unreal. And I'm just so out on it at this point. So that's kind of what we have, at least in MLB news. And we're going to finish this thing up now by going down to the wire. So,
Brian, real quick,
what's up?
If you were to venture a guess, how much do you think that a bleacher ticket to see the Red Sox is?
Are we going like high or low here? Is it let me guess, like $30?
$48.
Oh my God.
Per ticket. This is for the.
Oh my God, get the F out of here.
This is for the game against the Orioles, our next home game.
Oh, go F yourself.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
$48 per ticket.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like the fact that that's their expectation. That's unreal.
Don't even get me started on like the higher end tickets.
No,
they'll be
against the Orioles.
Against the Orioles.
It's not even like at the Yankee game or some like big like ticket thing. The Orioles, I know that they're at the top of the division, but the Baltimore Orioles, that's seriously what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Oh my God, go F yourself. That's unbelievable.
Some of the field box tickets are grossly priced.
I don't even want to hear them, but please tell me, because it's just gonna rile me up.
Field box 41. So pretty much like right behind home plate ish. $314
oh
a
my
ticket.
God. That's ridiculous. I think my parents, they just went to a Giants game, and there were tickets like in that area that was like $30.
Yeah,
I mean, Fenway
is not what other ballparks are doing.
They're notoriously known to do this, drive up the ticket prices, and they still expect you to care when they have a middle of the league payroll. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, Zeke,
let's get down to the wire.
Thanks for helping me end this show. Really freaking pissed off, but we will go down to the wire. We'll talk about everything we discussed on the show today. Zeke, thank you again for stopping in. It was great to have you on. We discussed the New England Patriots cutting Bailey Zappe and Malik Cunningham as they get ready for the start of the regular season. We also discussed the O-line troubles this team is having, and they are very present right now. It's gonna be a very scary week one against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they might just completely shred us right now. So it's looking pretty nerve-wracking with that. We also discussed some college football news. Zeke led that discussion. We also discussed the Florida Gators Swamp Kings documentary and gave some opinions on that. And then in MLB news, we talked about the Boston Red Sox completely falling apart in the past week. They now sit at 7.5 games out of the final wildcard spot. Zeke, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to follow Down to the Wire, you can follow us at down.tothewire on Instagram, where you'll find links to our Spotify, YouTube, and all of our social medias. Make sure to go give us a follow on there. Zeke, any parting words?
Yeah. If you're listening to this live on WJMF radio, you can listen to my broadcast of the Bryant football versus LIU game that's going to be taking place September 9th at approximately 6 p.m.
Yeah, and especially WJMF radio. If you want to listen to us live, we will at least be trying to do Fridays. I know this is a Wednesday broadcast right now, but Wednesdays will be tougher when we get into the school year. But you can listen on WJMF 88.7 HD2 Smithville, Providence, or online at WJMFradio.com. From Down to the Wire, though, I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Zeke Kransdorf.
And we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Peace out.